Hey, it's Tim Kawakami, 49ers Plus Minus podcast on a Thursday afternoon after the 49ers Broncos joint practice. I'm here with my co host, Matt Barrows of The Athletic. Barrows, long day, long practice. We got a little hot out there, but no fights. I think Kyle Shannon was very happy about that. A lot of work done. Just give me your overall impressions. You helped me. You tipped me off about the good spot. Go up to the stands and kind of get the view of both. Then I went downstairs for the second kind of session of team drills, and I got kind of the field level. It was good. We've been complaining about views and all that kind of thing. I saw everything I needed to see, Barrow. So with your help, with my own little individual looks at it, I was very, very interested by what I saw. Can you give us kind of the Barrows highlights, lowlights, whatever struck you from this joint session with the Broncos?
Well, first of all, if you're going to sit up in the bleachers, which I've been doing the last few practices, you have to have the high-powered binoculars back there. But I've stopped complaining once I've started bringing the binocs to practice. As long as they allow me in the bleachers, then you can see everything. I mean, you can see the far side, the near side. So, I guess the first takeaway is that joint practices were pretty good from a field perspective. The 49ers expanded their fields, more space now that allows them to have a joint practice. Should have asked Shanahan this question. I can't believe I let that get away, but it seemed like it went off without a hitch, just from a parameters physical standpoint. And that this could be a thing in coming years as well. They've got another joint practice next week against the Raiders that is in Henderson, Nevada. But I think that went well. And, my big takeaway is that it was a rough start for Brock Purdy and the offense. They could not run the ball. The first 4 running plays that the 49ers did were stuffed. We're talking no gain or negative yards on those plays. But as the practice went on, the 49ers got a little bit better, especially in the 2-minute stuff, in the move the ball period. And I think that's Brock Purdy's forte. He's good at improvising. He's good at playing once, the game gets underway and he gets into a rhythm. And I thought that Ricky Pearsall really sort of personified that. And we can talk more about this later, but very, very difficult start for Ricky Pearsall. Was not getting open, pass breakups. They tried a couple of end arounds to him. Those got blown up, one by Talanoa Hufanga. They didn't have any room. And that's how defenses play Ricky Pearsall. Physical. Get your hands on him. Make sure that he can't use his quickness and stuff like that. To his credit, he fought through that and made a big touchdown catch during the move the ball period, and then had another one later, another catch later. And that was during this point when the 49ers offense started to get on a roll, and Ricky Pearsall was sort of the catalyst for that. So I thought that was important. I think it's a real signal of how things are going to go once the season begins. And it's Ricky Pearsall on one side and Juwan Jennings on the other.
Well, no Jennings, obviously, in this practice. No Trent Williams. He was in uniform, padded. He didn't do much of anything. I think they were purposely just a rest day for him. Didn't maybe want to, it was going to get intense out there, and maybe, you wanted.
They were saving the Broncos.
Exactly. 71 is going to get into some stuff. But that's all right. So that's partly of an explanation for maybe it was so hard for them. To run the ball. The times I was looking over there, I mostly was looking at 49er defense versus Denver offense, but the times I looked over, they definitely did not see a lot happening for the 49ers offense, at least early on. Excuse me. But that deep pass to Pearsall was really nice. I asked Purdy about it. I mean, he threw the ball before Purdy had beaten this guy. There was some amount of faith that if I just lay it out, and as Purdy discussed, they've been working on this to put the ball, lay it out there, and as he said, trust Pearsall to get through contact. He kind of had to get past the bump of the quarterback and trust that he's going to beat him and put the ball where it's got to be. The ball was thrown perfectly. It was thrown on the line. It had to be 40, 45-yard pass, right? Or probably even more. It was way downfield. Really pretty play. That is an NFL touchdown in any way you design it. And it just a sign of the connection between Purdy and Pearsall. It's interesting when Purdy was asked about Watkins, and Watkins had a couple plays there. wasn't dominant in the practice, but he had some plays, and he just said, we got to get that chemistry like Pearsall and I have, and we're gonna get it. Like, he just conceded that there's a level that he's at with Pearsall that he isn't, and I'm sure with Juwan Jennings, we just haven't seen Jennings for a while, that he does not yet have with a rookie receiver. It's definitely worth noting, but that Watkins is getting there, and if they're starting, week one, we know that Demarcus Robinson, who looked pretty good in this practice, looked tough, right? You need a tough receiver against a good defense. Demarcus Robinson he's not going to go run past you, but he's going to do that 11-yard out cut, put his foot down, kind of fend off the defender and make that catch against a good defense. But if he's suspended, which we all assume he's going to for the first few weeks, probably 3 weeks now, then the number 2 receiver, if Juwan Jennings is back, is Pearsall. Number 3 is probably Jordan Watkins, which is a big step up for a rookie. But he does make some plays. I think he misses some plays, but he makes some plays. And they had to fight their way through this. I think this was a gut check a little bit for the 49er offense. I think there was frustration. They were going fast. As you noticed before the show, that side of the field was like 4 plays ahead of the other side of the field. They're doing the same counts. They're doing the same ones versus ones, do this many, 2s versus 2, this many, 3s versus 3, this many, next period. And they could not get through it as fast on the other side. I was watching that side. It was penalties. It was, some, kind of slow discussion. It was not going very fast. And so much that after the second period, you had Shanahan just standing there with his hands folded, watching the other side go,
right.
You guys going to finish this up pretty soon here? But I just think it was a gutty, Purdy mentioned that. He acknowledged that it was tough in the beginning. Denver was doing stuff that was different than their, had seen a 3-4 lineup, some talented players. Patrick Surtain, just one of them. And then they just kind of had to pull out some plays. They had to gut through some plays. And they did. And, they've got some injured guys, understood. Ayuk's not out there. Jennings is not out there. They still got to figure out a way to move the ball. They're going to play some good defense. We know it's a soft schedule, but they're still going to play some good defenses. Seattle's a pretty good defense in week 1. Can they move the ball? Can Brock Purdy figure out a way to get things going? And I think they did. And listen, it didn't look pretty. That's not a 35-point game if they're playing the Broncos, but maybe it's a 24-point game with, 17 in the second half, and maybe you win that game, which leads us to the defense. I think the defense they're going to need both. It's not going to be one side or the other's dominant. I just don't think either side is good enough this year to just say, oh, you know what? We'll just play great defense and run the ball, or we're going to score 5 touchdowns a game. Defense just keep it to 24. They're going to need both. And that means the 49er defense, which has a ton of young players. And we saw Michael Williams go down. I thought that was going to be a big one, Barrows. He looked really in pain on the field there after a pass rush when he kind of slams to the field. But then, and by the way, his teammates looked worried, right? Fred Warner was right there looking pretty worried. But then Michael Williams gets up, walks slowly under his own power to the sideline. They said, Shanahan afterwards said it was a hyperextended knee, which obviously is good news for them because that's only like a week, right? It's not 5 weeks. And
right.
The injury would have been 5 to 7 to 8 weeks. And this does not seem to be that. Didn't practice the rest of it. Obviously will not play on Saturday's game. Probably, maybe not even the next practice. Few practices, which includes the one in Las Vegas area against the Raiders. But you saw Alfred Collins looking pretty good. He looked very good. I watched the one-on-one drills. I think it was Collins' best one-on-one session. Beat a couple guys. Again, he wasn't going against the top guys, but he looked explosive and twisty. CJ West just does not have a bad rep. He does not have a bad rep. He just gets into guys' chests and moves them backwards. That's not necessarily going to lead to sacks for himself, but it will cause disruption. Might push the quarterback over to the defensive ends. And then, interestingly, obviously, Shanahan said it was mostly due to the injuries. But I think it's the first time I've seen both those guys were with the ones for most of the team drills. They were playing with the first team. You might say, who else is going to be it? Obviously, they've got hurt guys. But I think it's still a big thing just to have young guys show up on first team. That's – Dominic Pooney did not take the right guard position because they all said, oh, my God, he's so great. He's our starting right guard. He's starting right guard because everyone else got hurt, and he just was so consistent that he stayed in the lineup. Might be seeing some of the same things with Collins and West. Obviously, West has had a better camp so far. He's been ahead of them, but Collins is so physically gifted. Maybe they're not the 2 starters, the defensive tackle. I don't think that's what the 49ers envisioned, but just getting starter reps, getting through the rotation. You got Michael Williams going to be the starting left defensive end or whatever end opposite of Bosa. You got 3 starting level defensive linemen in a rookie class. I know I've been skeptical because it's hard to do. Maybe they've done it. They look very talented today. I just think the more we see them, the more it is that they're just going to be inevitably be the main guys on the defensive line.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is the plan, to have those guys start. I don't think that's the plan for week 1, but it may end up coming to pass sooner than the 49ers are planning. We should note that no Kevin Givens. He's going to be out for a sizable chunk of the season with a pec injury. There was no Jordan Elliott today. He's got, what was it, a back injury. Shanahan said the hope is that he's back next week. And of course, no Evan Anderson. To me, that's a little like Trent Williams not practicing. You're just giving the Broncos a bit of a break there. He's not seriously injured, but probably isn't going to play on Saturday. So that left, as far as veteran defensive tackles, Kalia Davis, there. And he did start. But to your point, by the end of the practice, it was 99 and 95. That's CJ West and Alfred Collins. And without Michael Williams there, it was a lot of Bryce Huff. And the Broncos, you may remember Mike McGlinchey, his tenure with the 49ers. He doesn't do great with speed rushes. And, you had Nick Bosa, probably the best guy on the field, on both sides of the ball. Well, McCaffrey and George Kittle were pretty good for the 49ers.
Patrick Surtain. I mean, it's pretty good.
Surtain was good too.
Yeah.
But Bosa was he was all over he was going up against McGlinchey, and he was going up against Garrett Bowles as well. And there were a couple of plays where it was sort of like a pincer move. You had Bosa against Bowles on the left side of the offense, and then you had Bryce Huff against McGlinchey on the right side. And Bo Nix had to do some scrambling. He was out of the pocket quite a bit. He got tag sacked a few times. I thought that Bosa looked really good, and Bosa hadn't practiced for about 3 days, working through some soreness, I guess. But he seems fresh. He seems like, just put him on ice at this point, and get ready for the regular season. He's there. Going back to what you were saying about wide receiver, I totally agree with you as far as Jordan Watkins, maybe being the third guy. And I guarantee you that's not what the 49ers envisioned when they drafted him. But we're just now seeing Jacob Cowing starting to practice. I remember last year, Isaac Guerrero, I think, suffered a hamstring strain on the first day of practice, and he was out until August 20. So I would say that that's probably the timeline for Cowing. So if he comes back in the mid-20s, is that enough time for him to seize that number 3 role for a September 7 game in Seattle? I don't know what the answer is. It's possible. I think it's interesting that he returns punts and Jordan Watkins returns punts. So I think both guys will probably be in uniform. But Watkins gives you, he makes catches deep down the field. He's got really good speed, and he also does the over the middle stuff. And I really haven't seen Cowings do any of that to this point. We just haven't seen him practice for a long stretch. So I feel like he's got to kind of show what he can do. I think he's going to miss all of the preseason. I doubt he plays in the preseason. So it's going to be that's one of the better competitions, I think, and that won't even get started until, I don't know, August 22. It's just a guess. So that's a very interesting position. And the other part is that you're starting to see the NFL come out with these rulings on suspensions. There have been a couple. Jordan Addison, for example, he had a DUI-related suspension, 3 games to start the season. Kind of hard for me to see Demarcus Robinson getting anything but 3 games for. He had the same charge, and he also pled no contest, just like Jordan Addison did. So it seems like a 3-game suspension is coming, and that they're going to learn about it fairly soon.
Yeah. And that's hard for me to see a Kyle Shanahan wide receiver decision go to the guy who hasn't practiced for 3 weeks, a young guy, right, who hasn't really done it in the NFL, and by the way, who did not seem to be one of Kyle Shanahan's favorite guys last year as a rookie. So, yeah, not saying that it's all done. And Watkins could be, shaky, whatever. We haven't seen him in a game. We haven't seen him get tackled to the ground. But it's just like you say, this competition hasn't started yet. That's not it's kind of started, and the other one of guys is TBD when the other guy's putting practices together. If the stacking practice thing that we hear all the time, if that means
stacking
much,
days, just stacking days.
Yeah, but Jordan Watkins is doing that. He's doing that. Obviously, talent comes into play, experience comes into play, but it's just hard to, Kyle Shanahan's system for me to think that the guy who isn't practicing and will miss both joint practices, will miss at least 2 preseason games, probably all 3, can just jump in and go, okay, now he's the third receiver. I think Watkins will have to give it away. And that's a lot to say for a rookie. That's a lot. But he's got to be ahead. He's got to be ahead. Like, it's not just, oh, yeah, he's doing fine. And then once Cowing is ready to come back, I don't think it will be an even position at that point. I think Watkins Watkins get hurt, right? Or not, someone else could get above him. Like, that's all possible. But I do believe that practicing, especially for young players, we're not talking about Trent Williams here, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. We're talking about guys who have not really done it in the NFL. Certainly Watkins has not done anything in the NFL, but just showing up is a big deal. It's a big deal, at least, as far as I know what coaches think. Again, talent, making plays is a big thing. But I want to get back to Bosa. I kind of sense this. That's why I asked Purdy about it. He hasn't been there the last few practices. Well, either have I, by the way. So this is why I asked the question. I haven't been there either. I've got general soreness, the same as Bosa. Barrows. You just wanted me ready for this practice. I just see 97 really messing up the 49er offense when they're doing these team drills. Like, it's just, if Trent's not practicing, it's hard to keep him off. And then they switch him over the other side. It's just hard. You can't run your stuff when Bosa's doing that, which is good because he's a really good player and it's on your team. And I just thought maybe Purdy would respond if I said, is it good to not have Nick Bosa messing up your offense? He's messing up someone else's. He said, yeah. The first thing I asked after practice was, how did Bosa do? Because 97 was all over the place. Again, it's good to have a really good player. You want that. They do have Trent Williams to block him in practice if he practices, but he messes up things of the offense. He just does. He's so good. Not all great defensive players do that, but Nick really seems to be doing that this training camp. I think he's kind of ramping himself towards a kind of a career year, obviously pending health, depending on a lot of things. But I think it's good for the 49er offense not to deal with that. And again, they were struggling against everybody in their first few minutes to maybe 10 minutes of this practice and team drills, but they figured it out. Maybe the time against 90, going up against Bosa helps them to have to deal with what do we do when we're under pressure all the time. I just thought Bosa was fantastic. Yeah, I thought he was the best player on the field. That's a good thing for the 49ers. They better have really good players, because I think the other thing that became pretty clear in this one is that which is not a surprise, they are very top heavy, right? They can get a pass downfield when it's George Kittle, right? They can get some things working on when it's Christian McCaffrey. They can do a lot of things on defense when it's Nick Bosa, when it's Fred Warner. They have some younger players, but that's kind of second unit. That's what's been cleared out. It's the Deebo Samuel, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Moore, whatever, that level of really consistent, established starting player in the league. They don't have as many. Talanoa Hufanga, Travarius Ward. We can keep Dre Greenlaw. Like, that whole group is not there. So when they're matched up with another team's veterans, it doesn't look so good, maybe. But they're developing. I'm not going to write them off. They got talent. Like, we're talking about C.J. West and Michael Williams and Alfred Collins and all these other guys. Ricky Pearsall would go in there, but it's to be decided on those guys. How did you like the kicking session, by the way, Barrows? Your guy Moody. I was surprised they even did a kicking session, but they did. Will Lutz kicking on the left side, powering the ball onto the roof of the weight training shed, or whatever you call that building, and They had Jake Moody kicking field goals on the other side, on the permanent one, more towards Levi's. What did you think about those first 2 kicks, Barrows?
Well, I only started watching when he was the one brought in to finish off the 2-minute
Okay. Oh,
drill.
so you didn't watch the field goal
So
section?
I saw him strike a 54-yarder, which I thought was good, but I did miss the Vic Tafer, my colleague, filled me in on what happened on those, and I know that one of them doinked off of the what was it,
Very
the right
first
upright or
one,
the
left one, a
upright?
first very short one, like less than an extra point, I would believe. It's hard. Again, we're not at the angle that we can tell him, but we know it was short. So it glances off the left upright and in. So of course the next one he overcorrects and almost misses it wide right. Just squeezes it in the right upright. And that's just so Moody, right? It's I went left. I better aim right. And I
Yeah,
went too
you're
far
right.
right.
There is a tendency to overcorrect with him. When he does miss one way, he tends to miss the other way in short order. Yeah, so I mean, if you're the 49ers, are you like, hey, Greg Joseph? Yeah, just making sure that you're not planning any vacations. You're still in the
Don't
vicinity.
change your number. Don't go out of Wi-Fi reception. Let us know. We're going to be able to. We can call you. Yeah, I mean that's what Shanahan said. We have not seen him cut Moody. He's been shaky at other times. So as I've said, I'll believe it when I see it. But that was shaky. But then you're right. He makes the 2-minute drill, which is some pressure because the practice comes to a start. And okay, we're down 3. We couldn't get a touchdown. We're at the 35 or wherever, 37, wherever they were. We got to kick a field goal, and he nailed that thing. That was a really good kick.
Yeah.
Jake Moody's a very talented kicker, but man, that first one, can you imagine if he missed it? Like if it doesn't glance in, that was not a good kick. That was not a good kick. Maybe it was a bad hold. I don't know, but it was interesting again that he almost misses the second one the other direction. That's the Jake Moody experience right there. We should get Deebo Samuel's reaction to that.
Well, we are in a situation where Moody can make 6 kicks this preseason, but as soon as he misses one, I mean it's a story.
Yep.
The 49ers have done this to themselves, but I mean that's something to note every time. Not only is there a miss, but to your point, a near miss from close in, it's going to be described. So it's just a lot of scrutiny. This is what you bring on when you draft a kicker in the 3rd round. I've said many times, I think Jake Moody is going to end up being a really good kicker, but most kickers struggle early on in their careers. They get bloodied up and they get hardened by it. And they're better for it, after year 4, after year 5, after, being a journeyman for a few years, after getting into camp battles and stuff like that. The 49ers drafted this guy right at the peak of their Super Bowl window. So, I get it. They're looking at salary and all this stuff that we've been talking about all off season. They're looking at the long term with this, but it makes for a precarious situation.
You got to make the field goals in the short term, Barrow. So the kicking thing it's like a reliever. You live in the moment because you cannot have a field goal kicker go cold and you're trying to win a division. You can't have that. But okay, that's my thing. It's going to be my thing. I was kind of just like, whoa, he almost missed that first one. It literally was like a 29-yard, 30-yard field goal. If I'm wrong, people can correct me. I'm sure I'll get a call from somebody, but that's what it looked like. It looked like it was shorter than an extra point. And it was, first one was not good. The first one was good barely. The second one was good barely. Just made you think about the Jake Moody experience. He does overcorrect, and that's not a good thing, right? It's not like the second one doesn't go right down the middle. The second one is always going in the wrong direction the other way, but off we go. Anything else you want to go? I thought, I'm trying to think now. Offensively, no, I mean, nothing spectacular other than that Pearsall catch, deep catch again was a really impressive play. Defensively, I thought the 49ers were just solid. They're just a solid, they got guys. We'll see about their cornerback situation. They got beat one time. Nix was one, it might have been a sack. A lot of these might have been sacks. They can't touch the quarterback. Nix was rolling around. I thought Nix looked good because he can throw on the run. That guy can
Yes.
really throw on the move.
That's how the Broncos moved the ball in this joint practice. They were broken plays where Nix scrambled from Nick Bosa and hit a big play down the field. And that's good practice for the 49ers. That's how great quarterbacks operate in this league now.
You've seen it against Kyler Murray, right? Do it to them.
There you go. Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, do it to them. But Bo Nix really throws a good ball. Like, you think he's just flailing, throwing, and comes down exactly in Cortland Sutton's hands, and he's wide open. Again, it's a tough, it might have been a sack. It's tough to guard Cortland Sutton for 5 seconds, but Bo Nix throws a very good ball on the run. I was very impressed. He's got a stronger arm than I thought. You watch him on TV, and it looks like he's kind of pushing the ball. It doesn't look like there's zip on it. You go down there and watch it live, the ball's flying. Like, the guy has a couple knuckleballs in there. He's not Justin Herbert, but I thought he had a really nice ball. I just thought, under the situation, under the heat he was, I just thought there was some impressive stuff there. Denver's got some really good players. That right guard, Quinn Marinez, whatever, he looked fantastic in the one-on-one drills. Just fantastic. I think he's a Pro Bowler, right?
His last name is pronounced Miners.
Minor. There we go.
I feel like it's such a missed opportunity for the 49ers to have drafted him a couple of years ago. It would have been perfect.
I used to be a junior 49er minor, by the way, whatever they used to call it. I used to get tickets to go for free.
Oh, we need the photo on that one. We need you to go into the family archives for that.
Remember when Candlestick had that pull out, and there was that section you couldn't really see from? That you'd get the free tickets to go there, and I would always, and then all of a sudden you start wandering around the stadium. That's the days I used to go to. This was before they were good. No shock. And then once that happened, I was too old, and also they don't think they did that anymore. But I think Berkeley Farms 49er Junior Minor, or whatever that was, 49er Minor Club, whatever that was. But that
if you can unearth your little badge, your little 49ers Miners badge that you wore, that'd be sweet. You could put that in the
cardboard things, like from the back of a milk carton or something. I don't know. I went to a ton of games though, like a ton of games when I was a kid. Take the Sam Trams up to the Candlestick Park, and then watch the game and take the same trams back. That was my little 49er dumb.
This is why you do what you do today. It was all that training as a youth.
It was that, and the blessings I got from being around Trent Baalke. Those two things.
Oh, yes, that's a gift that keeps giving.
All right, Barrows. We got 27 minutes out of a joint practice, but it was interesting. I was glad to see it. I was glad that again, no more complaints from us. We've kind of figured it out where we should stand. How not to, you're trying to see over football players. It's tough. Go up higher, you get binoculars, and you kind of see it. I was very, very glad that view was the one I got, and I watched this practice. I'm not going to Las Vegas for that one, but that one I hear the fields are very, 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 very tough to see. So we'll see how what Barrows can come up with for that situation. I know it's not a good one, but
hey, life is all about adaptation. Tim, so if you can adapt, then you will ultimately succeed in this lifetime. Charles Darwin said that.
I'm very glad you teach me these things, this important history that I need to know. I was just happy that I like training camp because I like seeing the practices.
Yeah.
It was just frustrating when you couldn't really see them. Like, it was just really hard to see. I could see 1/3 of the play or 1/2 of the play. If you get up there and you see the entire play and it's two teams practicing, you get twice the action. That's very nourishing for someone who just wants to see and learn about the football team. So, way to go, Barrows. Done good. We done good today.
I'm glad I could teach you. I'm glad I could teach you something, Tim.
Barrows, in your old age, you still have things that you can give us. You can impart wisdom. Very glad to be talking to everybody. We will have a show either Saturday night, but more likely Sunday morning, maybe off of the first exhibition game. We will be working at night, but there's stuff to talk about. Shanahan did say that very few starters would be playing on Saturday. Obviously, you have a intense practice. He doesn't like playing starters very much in the preseason anyway. You have an intense practice. You just played against this team. There's really no need to go put your top guys out there. It won't be, Purdy, won't be Kittle, won't be McCaffrey. I'm sure it won't be Bosa. It won't be Trent Williams. Some of those guys some of the starters are going to play, but it'll be the younger guys. Obviously won't be Michael Williams after the hyperextended knee today. But a few guys will be out there. It won't be all total backups, but they're going to be pretty safe in this one. So we'll have to figure out what we're going to be looking at. But there'll still be things. You'll want to see Jordan Watkins, right? You'll want to see guys like that. Will be interesting. Will Pearsall play? What will Nick Martin play? Those sort of things. D Winters, I saw a big pass breakup. That guy, I'm convinced. Like some of these battles, Barrows, are just like over. They're over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were over before they started. Really. I mean, D Winters just was out so fast that he hasn't given Nick Martin a chance to win that spot.
And that D Winters overplay, which we saw like last year, that's not happening as much. He's running straight to the ball, not past it. Upton Stout, which I've been saying maybe I didn't think that was going to happen. Looks like he is going to be someone. He is in line to be the nickel cornerback with Lenore staying outside. Like some of the stuff has been decided, but it's good to see it be decided. Like we're watching it be decided. It isn't like a surprise. And that's, I think, is important to note to everybody, 49er fans who want to know this stuff.
And I have a YouTube video on our YouTube channel that our producer Mike reminds us to mention on this. He wants us to mention it, and he wants everybody to sign up. But I did go over the battles that are pretty much over, and then the ones that are still existing that you'll want to tune in for in Saturday's game. And there are a few. Safety is one of them. Backup running back, that's all of a sudden starting to become kind of a big deal. We should have mentioned this during this segment, but you've got Isaac Arendo, who's out for a few weeks, to quote Kyle Shanahan. And now we've got Jordan James, who broke a finger, had surgery. He's out for a few weeks. So it's pretty slim pickings. In fact, you could say that it's worse than it was at this point last year, when we all thought that McCaffrey would come back at some point, but they had Jordan Mason behind him, and they had a couple of other guys. Now, boy, we're looking at Patrick Taylor Jr., Corey Kiner, undrafted guy, and
Amir Abdullah,
the ex-Raider, who I'm pretty sure I commented to you on this, but the Broncos seem to have a good time knocking Amir Abdullah to the ground today. I think that was a remnant of their AFC West rivalry.
They've done it before. They can do it again. I will just say, you're going to hear these things from me occasionally throughout the year. Maybe it would have been okay to keep Jordan Mason on this team. Maybe, running backs get hurt. I was told, Isaac Arendo, he's absolutely going to be ready to be the number 2. He's absolutely ready. He got hurt last camp. He wasn't healthy all the way through last season. Looked good at times. He can get hurt. Jordan Mason is a guy that you can count on. It was a leading rusher last season. Isn't a great running back. I know it would have cost some money, but some of these decisions, I get why they do it. I'm not going to go on and on about this all the time, but these are the decisions that leave you thinner. And then you get to camp and you go, who knew that these people were going to get hurt? People get hurt. People get hurt in camp. This happens. So kind of when the 49ers, and not saying that Shanahan and Lynch are doing this, but when you do hear, oh my God, who saw this injury? We're so thin. You had some injury. You had some healthy players that you cut. You just did. And you did it for whatever reasons, but you did. And there are some injury prone players. Again, I keep saying it, Andre Dillard. Like, you make the good point that Burford's only practicing at the left tackle, so he's probably not a swing tackle. And you got Pleasant's only practicing at the right tackle, so he's not a swing tackle. Well, Dillard's not practicing it either, by the way. So how can he be a swing tackle if he's not practicing at either left or right? I don't quite get why he's still on the roster. I guess he's talented, but at some point, if you do talk about stacking practices, the guy's stacking nothing, hasn't stacked a thing even since the offseason. So what is he doing on the roster?
I don't know. To your point, though, I mean, we heard Kyle Shanahan lamenting today how few defensive linemen they had. Yes. They released 2 guys that were 17-game starters last year,
and got signed.
Collins and Leonard Floyd. You know how rare a 17-game starter is in this league now, much less the 49ers. You hold on to those guys. Yep. Those guys are gold.
Yes. And they cut them. They took dead cap hits for both, and they both signed good deals with other teams in a snap. So I'm going to point this stuff out. Again, I just think depth is very important. And if you want to be as good as you possibly can, you keep the depth in case of something happening. That's just what you do. If you have cap space, it's not cap space that they were in trouble with. It was cash. And again, Jed York can spend whatever or not spend whatever, but I'm going to point it out. I'm going to point it out that you could have had these players on this roster. They absolutely could have all three. Jordan Mason and Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd could still be on this roster without a question, without a doubt. They still could have cut them, by the way, in camp if they didn't want to pay them. They just didn't want to even think about having them on the roster. And they paid a dead cap hit. So I'm going to say this when injuries come up. I'm just going to keep saying it. And it could be annoying to people. It could be annoying to people inside 49ers headquarters. It could be annoying to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I'm going to keep saying it because that is the cost of this. And they might get away with it because these young players do look good. But it's also, you could have the good young players and have veteran depth. You can have both. It wasn't impossible. They just decided to make that decision. So there's my end game rant there.
Wow. Wow. Were you this critical when you were a Miners Niner?
I think I was pretty tough. I think I was pretty tough on them. Then they got some quarterback number 16 and everything changed. Yeah, but before that, they weren't very good, Barrows. They were not very good.
78, they were 2-14.
It was few pickers. They had some decent players, but not a lot of them. And then they would rotate through them. So yeah, that was my era of 49erdom right before they got good. Then they got good when I was still in high school, but that was not when I was getting free tickets. All right, Barrows, there we go. We got another show coming up in a couple of days. Thank you so much for listening. That's the show for today.